And 2, I was afraid that I would fail myself again. I have purchased course after course, membership after membership. I've paid $10, I've paid $1,000, and I have not completed one of those courses. So at the thought of doing that again, of playing myself again, of being the same person with the same shortcomings, dropping the ball the same way, of buying into one more thing with zero return on my investment, no one to blame but myself, and operating at such a high level of fear, I didn't even want to tell my confidants what I'd paid. So if I did play myself, I could be ashamed in private. I sat there nauseous, weeping, and thinking to myself, I don't know if this was a good idea. I don't think this was a good idea. This wasn't a good idea. I shouldn't have done this. Passion public service announcement. Passionate. Let me tell you something. So what is this Passion PSA podcast? Who am I? Well, they call me Passion, short for passion, no last necessary. Why is there no last name necessary? Because the first name says it all. I am Passion and all that embodies. What do I do here? I give you the life coaching that you know you need, but don't enroll yourself in. When did I start? Actually, 2017. I'd leave a PSA on my Instagram regarding something I'd observed, and now we've evolved to this. Why do I do it? Why not? If even one person is able to take away one thing that changes their life, someone else's life, or changes the world for the better, then I've done what I was charged to do. So come on in, sit and listen for a while. There's something here for everyone at the Passion PSA podcast. Greetings and salutations, my beloved passionate newcomers, visitors, and guests. Welcome to another episode of the Passion PSA podcast, where I, Passion No Last Necessary, your Get You Right Guru, issue a weekly public service announcement about whatever I have observed or was on my mind. This is a for your consideration zone where the objective is to offer you a perspective you may not have previously considered to A, expand your thinking, and B, aid you in becoming a better version of yourself, and for others. This is a safe space, but not necessarily a delicate one. I'll never rob you of your right to feel what you feel. Same way I won't sugarcoat the truth to make it more palatable. The goal is to get you to higher, more expanded thinking so you can operate as your highest and best self. If you are new here, affirmations are our first order of business before we get started, so that we intentionally raise the vibration and ensure that regardless of what I say, how I say it, and how it may make you feel, we have started on the highest possible vibration and the same frequency. If you're ready, go ahead and take a deep breath. Tune out the sounds of New York City behind me. You are always welcome to repeat after me or to use this time to state your own affirmations. I value myself. I am important to me. I am willing to ask myself the uncomfortable questions. I am willing to answer the uncomfortable questions honestly. I am willing to be held accountable. I am reliable. Challenge accepted. Ashe, ashe, ashe. So passionate, last week we talked about the challenges of doing everything on your own and the frustration of people offering not helpful help. I believe that I told y'all that I had a class in the middle of the chaos. So whether I wanted to or not, I had to stop what I was doing so I could be in class. So our coach is returning from a trip, and based on the time he needs to be on his flight, he has to conduct a coaching session in the airport. And I believe he even had to sit on the floor, right? Connectivity was crazy. So he had to disconnect from his AirPods, and he had to go sit in the corner like he was on punishment so that he could be close to the window to get enough reception. Instead of what was scheduled, he kind of had this straight shooting heart to heart with us. When starting a business, a lot of us have lofty goals, right? We want to be millionaires. We may or may not want to be able to serve the people, but we definitely want to make the money. We want to enter into that echelon that we've only been able to see, but never really been able to do the things that they can, at least not with ease. I particularly appreciated this conversation because he told us straight up, it's not easy. It requires more than you've ever had to do in your life, and you will probably have to pay to play. Now, has he given us tips and strategies on how to obtain the resources to have the funds to pay to play? Absolutely. But even with that, when you haven't made $1, just like we talked about in the season premiere, funding that has to be repaid with little to no capital to repay it can be very scary and very stressful. More than once, he has told us about having to spend tens of thousands or more to gain access to rooms and audiences that he simply wouldn't have had access to if he didn't pay. Write that down as your first note. A seat at the table often comes with a price tag. If you've ever seen or heard about certain elite galas, the ticket price is often $10,000 to $50,000 per ticket. So if it's $50,000 and you have a plus one, it's $100,000. That's non-negotiable. And your presence in the space would absolutely be questioned if you started trying to haggle the price down like you do with your friends that have businesses and you think they spent money to build their business, to give you the services for the hookup or at a discount or for free. Access costs. And there are different costs at different levels because there are different offerings and gains at different levels. Example, a Chase Sapphire Preferred card has an annual fee of $95. It's a signature card, so it's already at a premium. You get some really good benefits, and you get good points from having that card. You get significantly more from having the Sapphire Reserved. That annual fee is $550. The perspective of, oh, it's not that serious, I'm not paying that much money to have a credit card, is keeping you out of the rooms, and by default, keeping you out of the potential conversations with the people in the rooms who can propel you to the next level or connect you to the people that can. You're not paying the cost to have the card. You're paying the cost to have access and be able to leverage said access. Go a step further, the cost isn't always cash or credit. We touched on that in the Uncompromising episode last season. Sometimes the cost is your integrity, your morals, or your values. A lot of folks are vying and rallying for a seat at the table because it's a great catchphrase, but be mindful that it's not just a casual colloquialism with a casual result. You want to be welcomed. You have to offer something worth welcoming, or that seat that you covet will be given to the person who brings a certain perceived value. Now, did Coach say all of that? No. But what he shared with us and what I took from it was great. Not the full extent of what really got into my spirit or the essence of this actual episode, but great nonetheless. If you remember, we kicked off season 2 with an episode on how to stay consistent, right? Consistency can be very hard. It can feel very mundane, repetitive, lackluster, and unexciting, but it is necessary to the smooth operation of the business. And let me interject right here that I'm aware that in this season, especially, that I've been talking a lot from the perspective of the business owner, right? But for those of you who don't own a legally recognized business, you're still operating a business. Your business is your life. Applying what you hear about business as a legal entity to the management of your everyday life will still help you navigate the vicissitudes of life. That one's for you, Johnson. And if you ever do start a business, you'll already have these principles in your mindset toolkit, okay? Back to the point, often consistency is very faith-based, meaning you have to keep going when you see no movement. You have to keep going when doubt and fear and long suffering start talking to you loud. You have to keep going when you see the smirks and you hear the snickers of the people around you who never believed you could get there in the first place, and they're asking follow-up questions like, so how's business? What's up with that big idea you had? You have to keep going when you see the pity in their eyes because they feel bad for you that you still believe in something that they think you should have let go of or cut your losses on. When they say to you, it's going to happen. But to everyone else is, you got to keep going when they start to pull away from you. And sometimes the only way to keep going is to pull away from them. Back to what Coach was saying. He then asks us what we're willing to let go of. Passionate, write that question down. What are you willing to let go of? Now, there's somewhere between 50 and 80 of us in the room, right? People start raising their hands and they're being all transparent. And now this is what rocked me almost right off my couch. There were so many in the space who had already lost what would have caused others to lose their minds. One teammate told the story of being on an amazing business trip and then finding out that the person they most wanted to call to discuss the details had died tragically in an accident. Teammates are talking about losing their parents just days after they embarked on a journey. Teammates are telling stories of losing their spouses because they took a chance on themselves. I'm talking about leaving them and draining their bank accounts in the process to leave them with nothing. Can you imagine losing your parent and then saying, okay, I'm going to make this investment. I'm doing this for us because I believe in the return on the investment. And your spouse says, bet, you made that decision. So now, in addition to you not having your parent, you will also have no life partner because I'm out. Like I can't even begin to wrap my mind around that. So I'm sitting there, I'm listening to it all. Now I feel like I need to go hop in the garbage can myself because I'm in my bag over a suggestion and over a technology glitch. My teammates are out here having real-time Job experiences. And while my feelings aren't invalid, they certainly pale in comparison to what my peers have navigated and what they're currently navigating. Like, what? So I grab my binder so I can write down what I'm willing to let go of. And I'm thinking about everything that my peers have already let go of. And too many of them, it wasn't by choice. I think about the cost to be in the room and the tears that I cried when paying it. Because let me tell you something, passionates. Willing and fearless are not synonymous. You ever been on the Intimidator at King's Dominion? Because I have, okay? I got on willingly, not fearlessly. That climb up to heaven's gates had me doubting more and more the closer we got to the top, right? I was convinced that I saw Moses, Abraham, Jacob, Jesus, Allah. And I kept saying, I don't think this is a good idea. I don't think this is a good idea. This wasn't a good idea. I shouldn't have done this. And when we went over and I physically got to see what it looks like between consciousness and unconsciousness, and if you were wondering, it is gray like the gray parts of a black and white TV show. That terror that had been rocking me sweetly on the climb up never let me go until we came to a stop. And that's exactly how I felt when I took this step. Now, in truth and transparency, the reason why I was terrified, the reason I cried and prayed and cried some more was because, one, I wasn't even sure like what I paid for and what I was getting myself into. And two, I was afraid that I would fail myself again. I have purchased course after course, membership after membership. I've paid $10. I've paid $1,000, and I have not completed one of those courses. So at the thought of doing that again, of playing myself again, of being the same person with the same shortcomings, dropping the ball the same way, of buying into one more thing with zero return on my investment, no one to blame but myself, and operating at such a high level of fear, I didn't even want to tell my confidants what I'd paid. So if I did play myself, I could be ashamed in private. I sat there nauseous, weeping, and thinking to myself, I don't know if this was a good idea. I don't think this was a good idea. This wasn't a good idea. I shouldn't have done this. So when I started praying, I had to raise the vibration from doubt and fear to faith and gratitude for being able to make the investment. Giving thanks for the opportunity, giving thanks for the courage, giving thanks that I'm not the same person I was just 2 weeks prior, giving thanks for evolving every day. All of this through the tears. So I shared with the room that I was willing to let go of the fear that I would fail myself again and instead live in the reminder that when I slow down or I have to stop, it's not because I'm sliding into old habits. And I had to say that because I've been a notorious procrastinator most of my life and I haven't fully resolved that yet. Like I still procrastinate real bad. Yeah, don't tell nobody. But before, it was because I did things that interested me more. Now, it's a combination of being easily distracted and misappropriation of attention and energy. So the episode needs to be written, so let me go wash the dishes. Like, the dishes can wait at this point. But I'll prioritize that knowing that the episode needs the immediate attention, but also feeling like I have adequate time to do both, and then wrestling with the urgency of both, rationalizing doing the dishes first. Now I done ran out of time to do the episode because I gotta leave. So when I slow down or I stop now, is to regroup, is to reprioritize, is to strategize so that I do make the best use of the time I have and get the most and the most important done. It's to get the rest that I too often rob myself of, because I feel like if I'm not doing something, I'm not doing enough. I'm willing to let go of that. And I'm willing to let go of beating myself up, because beating me up isn't building me up. But let me say this as well. Being willing to let go of something and actually letting go of something is two different things. Being willing is only the first step. It's the action behind the willingness that yields results. So Passionists, I want to ask you, what are you willing to let go of? And this is not the time for cheap talk, okay? This isn't the time to say, oh, I'm willing to risk it all, knowing damn well you're not willing to risk or sacrifice anything. I mean, you could say it, because the only person you be lying to is yourself. And if you're comfortable with that, well, you got it. But for those of you who are ready to face yourself in the mirror, for those of you ready to take next steps, what are you willing to give up? And think that through, beloveds. Being ready and willing to give up partying for a year might mean you lose the friends you've been partying with in addition to the outings. They may not have only been your party people. They may have been your confidants for the last 10 to 15 years. And I'm not saying they're going to run off and start backstabbing you, right? But they may find less and less time to be available to you, since you're no longer available to them as you have been. It may not have happened in your circle, but it happens all the time. The point that I'm making is that some things happen as a result of other things. So you say you're ready for this, but are you ready for a possible domino effect? I'm 1000% sure sis wasn't ready to give up her daughter in the flesh. Most of us are cool with a guardian angel that we never met, but saying that we're ready to not be able to put our arms around our flesh angels anymore, that would be an outright egregious lie. And what you may have to let go of may not be as extreme, or it could be more extreme, right? Because what's devastating to you might be kind of manageable to me, and vice versa. Are you willing to give up any of your vices that you claim you can't live without, that you were living without before you started claiming them? Are you willing to give up excuses? Are you willing to let go of that money that you have your hands so tightly wrapped around? Because the bottom line is you're probably going to have to give up something. You're going to have to let go of something. So if you're not in the midst of the process and you're still in the planning stages, are you willing to let go of it? And are you willing to do it now? Or are you willing to let go of it, but you still need another year to make excuses as to why it's easy for me and hard for you, and why you're the 1 in 8 billion that's ever experienced this? I'm familiar with most of the excuses because I've made most of them. I'm familiar with a lot of legitimate obstacles because I've experienced them. But the same way you find a way to work when there are all these obstacles in front of you for that check is the same way you have to find a way to push through, push past, and get over everything that's not working in your favor and everything that's going kablooey pow pow in your face. So in line with everything that we've discussed thus far this season, right? In line with making better decisions now for later on in our life, in line with showing up for yourself, in line with navigating the people showing up offering the help you don't need and the emotional melee that comes with that. As we prepare to exit this episode, I want you to write these things down. Number 1, ask yourself what it is you really want. And if you don't know, that's okay. And if you're 30, that's okay. And if you are 45, believe it or not, it's still kind of okay. It's still not the end of the world. It becomes problematic when your indecision and confusion makes you a burden to others around you. But if you're at least sustaining yourself while you're trying to figure out what it is you want to do, like, there's room for you to take your time to figure it out. Number 2, trying a lot of different things until you find the thing that's a good fit for you is also okay. That becomes problematic when you're trying to do it on your friends and your family's dimes. So if you want to explore different businesses, get you a business coach who can give you some sound advice. Number 3, When you've made the decision on what you want to do, ask yourself what you're willing to give up and how immediately. Coach gave up the happy juice and the party life. Teammates gave up their marriages. I'm giving up the me that shows up for everybody but me. I'm giving up the fear, the excuses, and the poor habits like mismanaging time and poorly prioritizing tasks actively, currently. And I was already working on these things while building the first business. But after taking this step, I had to go full throttle in order to build everything out as I envisioned it. When you ask yourself what you're willing to give up, analyze it. Weigh out every pro and con you can think of. Find you an accountability partner that's doing it or has done it and talk to them about the steps they had to take and the sacrifices they had to make. Don't talk to your friend who deserves a treat because they went to work every day last week. Like, no shade to them, but if you're going to high levels, these rewards for doing the bare minimum ain't it. And most of the ways that we reward ourselves really just slow us down on the path to get where we actually ultimately want to go. Number 4, it's probably going to cost more than effort. Access is usually limited to those who are willing to pay the price. When it comes to dollars and cents, put a star next to this. Whatever number you choose will be the number of your limitation. If you're only willing to pay $5,000 or less for the courses, you're only going to get the information available at the $5,000 level. Is there someone giving this person's $10,000 information at this person's $5,000? Maybe. And as a matter of fact, you may be able to amass all of it for free. So the $10,000 that you didn't want to pay will cost you in time. We talked about that when Garrick was with us, right? That's an opportunity cost. So you'll pay it in time to acquire the information. Then you still have to implement the information and execute on it. So the $10,000 is still looking like a big number until you realize the $10,000 can be made back quicker. Then you'll be able to research all of the information required to make the $10,000. You're not just paying for information, you're paying for access to the room, and you're paying for access to the people in the room and their resources. That's where a lot of the value is. Also, you can write off $10,000 in education on your taxes, but you can't write off time. Like, as quantifiable as it is to you and to me. As far as I know, the IRS doesn't have a tax break on time. Now, for my CPAs and my IRS auditors that are out there, please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. Number 5, there's a difference between saying you want something and being willing to put in the work to get it. You can say you want to be a millionaire until you're blue in the face, but talk ain't action. So if all you're doing is talking about it, but you're not putting your hand to some kind of plow, you will forever be talking about it. For every heir and heiress that you see that didn't have to do anything for the money they have access to, there was somebody in their family tree who worked tirelessly. Now, maybe not always ethically, but definitely consistently and endlessly to create the structure so their descendants wouldn't have to do the work that they had to do. So if you really want it, get up and go get it. If you're not willing to get up and go get it, you don't really want it. And if you want it without the work, do you really deserve it? And tell your ego to sit this conversation out. I'm talking to your logic. I've been saying that I wanted to be a millionaire for years. Not a millionaire earner, just a millionaire. I didn't want to work for it. I just wanted to have it. So I wasn't acting like a millionaire. I wasn't thinking like a millionaire. And I wasn't doing anything to become a millionaire. And that's exactly why I was a couple hundredaire. So what exactly would I have done with $1 million? Squandered some of it, a lot of it, probably. Tried some things to make some money and given up because it wasn't happening fast enough and I already had money? Possibly. But here's a major key. A poor-minded millionaire doesn't remain a millionaire, period. Fortunately, I've outgrown that mindset. So millionaire is a very attainable goal. Watch me work. But that's it, Passionates. I have some other business to attend to, so I'm going to leave you to your thoughts, okay? If you would like to share said thoughts, you know the drill. Questions, comments, concerns, commendations, criticisms, or critiques are all welcome. If you don't have much to say, but you did get value from the episode, you can leave me a thumbs up or drop a megaphone in the comments. That's good enough. Send your listener letters to my brilliant friend passion@gmail.com. Whether you're viewing or listening on your preferred podcast platform, like, subscribe, turn on notifications, share. Sharing is caring, okay? Help me help others help themselves. If you would like to be a financial contributor, donations can be made via Podbean, PayPal, Cash App, Linktree, or Zelle. All the links are in the description box. Every little bit helps. It all goes back into the pod. And next week will be the big reveal of the new What One Woman Does studio. So definitely stay tuned for that. And I think that's it. If all hearts and minds are clear, you get you right, Guru. It's signing off. Y'all go forth. Be great. Be filled with bliss. Be armed and empowered with knowledge. Remember your key points. Review them. Ask yourself the questions and be honest about your answers. Don't lie to me because I'll forever question everything you say. And don't lie to yourself because you tear yourself down every time you let yourself down. And all things be passionate. See you later.